successful programmers, and it's my great pleasure to be able to help facilitate this conversation with our guests. So if you have a question, please put your hand up like this, and if you can wave it sideways, I'm going to step out of the light. That'll help me see you. If I call on you, please keep your question as brief as possible. Speak as loudly as you can, but I will repeat it for the benefit of everyone in this lovely house. Those are the rules. So please join me in welcoming and congratulating Director Jon Avnet.
Woo!
And I get the pleasure to introduce the person who's responsible for a lot of what's really special in this movie, the person whose heart and soul is in it, whose heart you just saw, Richard Gere.
What was the genesis?
Richard and I had worked together and knew each other, and I sent him the script, and I think that's where you should start talking.
Jon and I stayed friends over the years, and he sent me the script, and of course it's fascinating, artful, and it's not a part in this movie that's not challenging. And how do you make it fit the narrative? And as Jon, the state it was in when I got it, it was a Rubik cube, and it was years of labor on it showed. We knew the psychoanalytics of paranoid schizophrenics, and the process we had when we were doing these rewrites was to back off all of this paranoid schizophrenia perfect language, which is, it was true and it was accurate, but it wasn't the way people talk, even the way shrinks talk to each other. And I have a sister who was a dean at Lesley College, which is this psychological training school in Boston. And it was, we went through the script and literally just looked at it without all the psychoanalytics around it, and just human beings. And how do human beings react? How would they explain the situation we're dealing with? And it was that process that we continued with, even through the rehearsals, of just keeping this incredibly honest in the moment-to-moment realities of how people react to with each other.
I think this is one of the strengths of the film, one of the many strengths of the film, is that you forefront their humanity, not their illness. And this was very meaningful for me.
Well, thank you. Ultimately, it's about this incredibly empathic approach that Richard's character plays. And can he get through these barriers that these very, very tortured souls have erected to maintain their isolation?
Okay, let's yes,
question here.
Waving your phone.
Early in the film, you use these words. They say the opposite of the way they're thinking. It's kind of like a thesis. Could you tell us a little bit about that, that thesis?
The gentleman says at the beginning of the film, there is the line, they say the opposite of what they are thinking. Feels like a thesis. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, schizophrenics tend to speak in what's called neological language. Neological literally means it has a meaning to them alone, not to anyone else. It's very difficult to access. And one of the things, we had the benefit of the book, we had the benefit of the actual transcripts. And one of the things we tried to do was to see if over time, you, the audience, like the doctor that Richard played, could begin to understand what they were saying, could find the sense in it. And I hope, you're the judge. Could you understand by the end of the movie what they were saying? If so, that's part of what Richard's character is saying is if you listen carefully enough, and you listen with your ears, but also with your heart and your soul.
From a non-logical place. The only way you can you can get these people is to not personalize anything, but to feel where they're coming from, with no agenda from your side, which is the unique thing of what this guy was doing in the movie. He has no agenda other than trying to help, and he's not sure what strategy is going to work. So he's kind of in an experimental zone the same way paranoid schizophrenics are creating alternate universes for themselves. He's created this warred situation where they start to collectively create a reality structure that is safe and embracing and trusting. And the choices that he makes, not all of them, you say at the end, he says, look, I'm even questioning what I did, if this is really the way to go. But I don't think you can ever question his motivation, and that's something I had to be clear about all the way through. His motivation is not to be on the cover of that magazine. It is literally to help these people. Now, he's not a completely enlightened being, and certainly he likes to have his kudos for what he's doing. But at every point, we were really careful that he was coming from this place of a really kind of pure kindness and compassion and empathy.
Thank you. Yes, here.
How much of the dialogue was verbatim from the actual session?
How much of the, oh sorry, I just want to repeat it. How much of the dialogue was verbatim from the actual sessions?
Quite a bit. It was in many ways a pleasure to be able to pull from it. It was also an agonizing task. But there really is, it's just, and one of the things that attracted me to the project was the language. It's the only time I've read something other than Shakespeare where I thought the richness of the word choices was so unique that it actually forced you to look at language, or at least me, to look at language in a different way. And when we started rehearsal with not just Richard, but with Walton, Peter, and Bradley, they were scared shitless. These are very talented professional actors, but they knew that they had to find a way to make sense out of this. Again, I'm not comparing it to iambic pentameter, but it was, a bit of a enigmatic, language. So that was a great comfort to have that. And we also had, as I said, the transcripts, which were far, much longer. So there was a lot to pull from them. But first of all, Richard and I really get along well, but he wanted to kill me during the casting process because I am torturously slow.
So slow. Pull the trigger, they're great. Say yes, go with that.
But I do everything one person at a time. I've been doing that a long time, but I think I'm good, but I'm also very cautious. And so part of the fun was taking people who were gifted and seeing if they could go to a different place, and would that, for an audience, be revelatory, would it be exciting, and would it open up this world, the solitary world? Would they be able to interpret those characters and make them accessible? And part of it, the key to me, was as you get to know them, you start to laugh with them. You start to enjoy them. It's almost like they're family members, which many of us who have mental illness in our family, it's true. And sometimes they're just so charming, and they're not psychotic all the time. And as Richard's character says, they're both seductive and unbelievably perceptive. So one of the things Richard picked up very early, which is he had to be, in his character, extremely truthful because they could detect the falseness in a second.
There's a question here, and she's interested in the direction the conversation is taken. It seems to center on Dr. Stone. Pardon me, but a lot of this is also about Dr. Stone and Becky.
Well, one of the tricks or the questions about how to adapt it was, what is the story about in terms of an active character? And when Jane Alexander, who's one of my favorite actresses, comes in, was one of the few figures that his character responds to, she quotes that Emily Dickinson poem, and it's the power of an original idea and the fact that it can move mountains And his life became a debris field. And you see some of it in the movie. And it continued. And that's what happens when you go on this singular journey. Virtually everything he says to Becky in the interview happens not only to her, but to him.
Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, you know, when it's a bit of a balancing act in something like this, because all the characters are interesting. And I think what we settled on was that it all has to fit the overall general narrative, which is, what is the nature of self? What is the nature of community? I mean, to me, the story is about how do you create community? How do you create people? We're all crazy. There's no one in this room who's stark raving mad. But we're not clinical schizophrenics. But this was a movie about creating community, trust, and a kind of a palpable empathy, which all the characters start to evolve with each other. Everyone's desires were clear. We knew where they were coming from, but we make choices. Schizophrenics aren't making choices, they're driven. And I think that is in the fabric of this. Of course, the colorful nature of the patients in this kind of dominates the color of the movie, as it were. But I think it is those two things. Is transformation possible, and is it possible to have community?
We have time for one more question. That's an interesting question for our guest. He knows the film is about the transformation of these characters, or about transforming. Were there transformational things that happened to each of you as a result of making the film?
Yeah, well, I didn't know how I was going to do this. And one of the reasons that I want to make a movie is I don't know what I'm going to do. And I enjoy being in that situation where I'm a little scared because I don't know if I can pull it off. I have some confidence that I will, but there's this zone that I don't know how to play it. When we started rehearsals, I had some idea of what Stone was going to be and how he was going to approach. We were doing rewrites on it constantly based on the idea of how we thought it was going to be. The reality of those three actors who started to find their characters, and Jon did it very, we praise him a lot for this, but he told everyone in the beginning, don't make decisions too soon. Be boring for a while. Relax with this. Let it happen from your side, not because you made a decision, but because organically it starts to emerge. And I found the same process with me, is that my own instinct is to drive things and to be the alpha energy. It doesn't work in the story. I'm there to observe. I'm there to be quiet. I set the stage for something to happen. But what I want to have happen is completely unimportant. I have to be wide open, not judge anything that happens. It's all data coming in, and empathy, kind of a mysterious communication that's going on. And that was hard for me to find, to just be there in the room with these guys and not feel that I wasn't bringing enough to it. It was enough to be there. That was my job.
When I started working, particularly with the actors, and of course with Richard, I just thought listening and tolerance. If I were going to start a religion, I would listen and be tolerant.